Hi, I am Elijah Armstrong. I am a lighter skinned black male with locks wearing a dark blue hoodie, and this is one of our Heumann-Armstrong Award videos. For those of you who don't know, the Heumann-Armstrong Award is a scholarship for students with disabilities in the 6th grade and up, including all forms of higher education, who have experienced and fought against ableism in education. Each of our winners receives a $1,000 monetary award, and also we shoot a video with each of them, giving them a chance to tell their stories. So this is one of those videos. Before we get into it, I just want to say please like and subscribe. It helps promote the videos and it'll also keep you updated on what we're doing. And also, if you share this video at all, please use the hashtag Heumann-Armstrong on social media so that we can find you and hopefully partake in the conversation too. Just sort of keep the conversation going. Yeah, so without any further ado, I'm really excited to introduce you to one of our 2021-2022 Heumann-Armstrong Award winners, Luca Sachs. On screen now are the logos of all three organizations, AAPD, the Quello Center, and Equal Opportunities for Students. On screen now is the logo for the Heumann-Armstrong Award and white text on a gray background that reads, Present Heumann-Armstrong Award winner Luca Sachs, illustrated by Access Gallery.
Hey, my name is Luca. I use he, him, and they, them pronouns.
A photo of Luca. Luca, a white non-binary person with short brown hair and brown glasses, is standing in the center of the image. They are wearing a yellow button-down shirt with a colorful floral pattern and are using forearm crutches. In the background, blurry bushes are blooming with pink flowers and a gazebo is surrounded by trees.
An image description for myself is that I'm a white non-binary person with short brown hair, brown eyes, and brown glasses. And today I'm wearing a dark green shirt. An illustration of Luca in the same position. And I'm from a small village in the rural area of southeastern Germany, and I go to Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon.
An illustration of Lewis and Clark College.
Yeah, so I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I have a whole bunch of the more common comorbidities that are associated with it. Ehlers-Danlos is a genetic connective tissue disorder. And even though it is genetic, I actually wasn't diagnosed with it until fairly recently, like 2 years ago, because it's very massively underdiagnosed. And so although I've been having, health-related issues my whole life, like nobody really either noticed it or took it seriously. And there was a lot of sort of dismissal from the medical community, from the doctors that I was seeing, saying, you're so young, you can't be so sick. And I really was, and it really took a long time for somebody to sit down and actually take into account all of these things and puzzle them together.
Luca being ignored in a doctor's office.
Yeah, so I moved from Germany to the United States for college. And again, I was really, really fortunate to get a full ride scholarship to the school, because otherwise my family in no way could have ever afforded that. And I'm the first person in my family to ever go to college or graduate high school, really. And so it was quite a big deal for me and for those around me.
Luca and their family celebrating an acceptance to Lewis and Clark College.
But it was a challenging transition, just moving to a different continent, like starting to figure out, what social life was like here, how to even just do practical things like set up a bank account in another country.
Luca struggling to open a bank account in the US.
And then since then, the biggest roadblock at Lewis and Clark have been definitely the inaccessible campus. Lewis and Clark is situated on a hill with a lot of sort of more historical buildings and a lot of cobblestone roads. And as a person with a lot of joint pain, I use mobility aids such as crutches to get around in my everyday life. And navigating a campus that definitely was not made to take into account other forms of mobility is challenging.
A long path leading up a hill.
Basically, the way that the school is set up on this hill means that there are a lot of stairs, and I can get upstairs with my crutches, but it hurts and it takes a lot of energy and a lot more time than other people. And so I really coming to Lewis and Clark and figuring my way out around on campus was a lot of just planning ahead, figuring out like what are the accessible routes, how can I avoid this staircase here, how can I avoid this like cobblestone path over there.
Luca slipping and falling.
And sort of finding my way that way. And it's funny, it's a lot of just conversations with other disabled students on campus too who also use mobility aids and being like, hey, have you figured out how to get to this building? Because I haven't. So, can you tell me what the best way is to get there? But it's also a lot of navigating weather because Portland has a very moderate climate, but it does rain a lot, which makes things very slippery. And especially when it's fall, when it's pretty like today, and there are leaps out onto cobblestone paths and they get wet. When you use crutches, that becomes a slippery slope, especially downhill, very quickly. And so that's been something to navigate. And then
an autumn day with leaves falling off the trees surrounding a walking path.
And within, our buildings, it's a problem. We have a lot of really old buildings that haven't been updated in a while, and then the school is working on it slowly. But it just means that a lot of buildings don't have elevators, or the elevators are a little bit scary. You're just like, I hope that this won't get stuck with me in it.
An old and scary elevator.
So yeah, a lot of negotiating all of these things and then having to take the extra effort to, email a professor and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I really can't get to your office because it's on the 3rd floor and there's no elevator in that building. Would we be able to meet somewhere else? And having to go that extra step. So at my school, the way that accommodations are handled is basically you have to have like a doctor's note or a note from like a medical professional in order to get an accommodation granted after meeting with one of the staff members in the disabilities office. And that's something that was tricky for me in the beginning because I did have some documentation, but it was from Germany. And in my freshman year, I wanted to use that to get accommodations, but I wasn't able to because it was in German, and that wasn't an accepted form legally of documentation. And it was rejected as documentation, and so I wasn't able to get them for the first 2 years of my time at Lewis and Clark.
A professor throwing away Luca's note.
Like what I've done to make queer spaces on campus more accessible has mainly focused on the Queer Student Union. This is a student-run organization that we have on campus that I've been working with since my first year here. And basically I started being the head of accessibility and founding that role in some way. So the job for me is really to go in and like strategically make sure that all of our events are accessible, the materials we put out are accessible, and that.
A wheelchair ramp leading into the Queer Student Union.
Also just hold intersectional spaces for queer disabled students on campus. Because, the problem is in society, a lot of queer spaces aren't accessible, and it's really frustrating. Like I've been to prides before, with the intention of just being there to celebrate my queer identity, being there to celebrate my trans identity, and queer visibility, but then showing up and, realizing, hey, with my crutches, like I can't stand for very long. And this pride doesn't have like an area with seating. So either I can sit down and not see any of the pride because there are like 50 people standing in front of me, or I can stand and be in a lot of pain and pass out. And then it's also not fun.
Luca using his canes to stand at a massive pride parade.
And that's not just with prides, but that's with a lot of other queer spaces, is that they're not accessible or they're not thought out to incorporate our bodies and minds in the ways that they should, because we disabled queers are just of a valuable part of the queer community as non-disabled queer people are. Obviously, since I'm a whole person, I can't separate my disabled identity from my trans identity, from my queer identity, from my other identities that I hold. And in that way, obviously, my queer identity and my disabled identity intersect in these spaces. But often when I'm in queer spaces, I feel too disabled for queer spaces. And when I'm in disabled spaces, I feel too queer.
Luca holding the LGBTQ pride flag and the disability pride flag.
I think disability justice is key because, again, it comes back to intersectionality, right? Intersectionality for me also means that like I can't fight ableism unless I'm also fighting all other forms of discrimination. And so disability justice is so important as a part of this wheel of all other marginalized experiences. And I think that I see my role in the movement as somebody who can bring people together. I think that's something that I've really been enjoying with my work with the Queer Student Union, with the Office of Inclusion, Multicultural Engagement, creating spaces to invite people, have them join, and then figure out a plan together.
Luca leading a group of activists.
Disability justice for me captures sort of this intersectional approach to working with all other marginalized people to abolish and structures that don't work for us and don't help us and support us in our existence, and instead building community-oriented spaces where we can flourish and be ourselves. Fighting for disability justice, talking about ableism, it can often get like depressing and make you really sad, and I feel that way too. But also that I at least personally experienced so much joy in being disabled, and then knowing that there are other disabled people around me, and then building community with other disabled people. From like everyday interactions with like other disabled students in class, making jokes, like talking about common experiences, or like laughing about like funny like disability related like TikToks or whatever. I think there's so much joy in being disabled, and that's something to hold on to and to not forget about. I feel super, super honored to have gotten this award. And, I really look up to Judy and to Elijah, and just having read more about their activism in the last years as I've sort of grown with my own disabled identity and with my own understanding of where I fit into the disabled justice movement. It's just a really big honor, but it's also like, on one hand, a bit of a recognition of like, oh yeah, I've done some cool disability justice work, and now I want to pursue this further, and I want to go further with this, and make sure that, whenever, like, what challenges I see that I'm passionate about, we're continuing to advocate and to change ableist structures around us.
Thank you, Luca, for sharing your story with us. You can find more about Luca in the description of this video. You can also find links to all of the organizations that have partnered together to allow this award to happen. Yeah, again, please like and subscribe to stay updated on what it is that we're doing. We have 5 other winners of the Heumann-Armstrong Award from the 2021-2022 school year, so please watch their videos as well. And pretty soon, we'll also be seeing videos from our 2022-2023 Heumann-Armstrong Award winners. So please stay tuned.